All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast weekly real estate tip. And as we start to wind down 2025 and step into 2026, I have six essential important things that I want you to focus on, that I recommend that you focus on, I should say, to ensure that you finish this year off strong. But more importantly, or every bit as importantly, if not more importantly, that you have the momentum that you need stepping into 2026 to go out there and make 2026 hopefully your best year yet of your real estate career. Now, the mistake that so many make in this industry is they use November, December. It's kind of like Halloween through the first week of January. They're just in coast mode. They're just in maintenance mode, coast mode. They're just doing the minimum to get by. Well, then from there, they have to then rebuild that momentum. So they lose all that momentum going into the first of the year. So no wonder their first quarter typically sucks. And then they're kind of operating on a 9-month year. We don't want to do that. You don't want to do what most do in this business. The average realtor would make more money working at McDonald's full time than they do in this industry. So we don't want to do what most do, right? So here's the thing is, so over my, almost 21-year career, I've had so many realtors that will come to me in like January and February, like, oh man, things are just really slow, because of the holidays, because there's lesser people buying and selling because of holidays, things are slower, people are holding off because of holidays. I'm like, I always have to correct them, right? Where I'm like, you mean the 2 months you chose to take off? Look, I get it. There's, like what, 6 core holidays during that time, and I'm not saying to not go out there and celebrate those holidays. We just had Halloween, so if you want to classify that as a holiday, but then you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas Eve, Christmas, or whatever the holiday that you celebrate. Then you got New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, right? Go take those, go enjoy that time with your family, but don't use as an excuse to take your foot off the accelerator for 2 whole months, which is what most do. And I'm not saying that they peace out and pause, right, completely and not work at all. I'm just saying that most get into minimum maintenance mode. And look, I understand there's a lot of distractions, there's a lot of events, there's a lot of get-togethers, there's a lot of travel that's taking place. But right now, for those of us that want to ensure that 2026 or the next year is our best year, these things I'm going to cover with you aren't really anything specific to 2026, right? They're, just things that we need to do to prep to make sure that we have the best next year, that our next year is bigger than the previous, that we have a successful year, that we have that momentum that we need. So this is that time that you want to put that foot on the accelerator, give it a little bit more gas, man. Because when you look at this, yeah, there's slightly less buyers and sellers, during the holiday season, but there's still an insane amount. Go into your MLS and see how many homes historically close in December and November, December, January. There's still a ton, right? But there's an insane amount, a much higher amount of real estate agents on coast mode. Probably 80% of our industry is just in coast mode, maintenance mode, or maybe 90%, right? So there's so much business to be had. So whether going after buyers, whether going after sellers, or if you're like in a position like I am, where you're a team leader, broker owner, organization builder, where you're going after agent recruits as well, this is prime time for that too. This is that time of year where agents are thinking about a switch, a change. Got a lot of team leaders, a lot of broker owners in peace out mode right now, vacation mode, so this is prime time, for recruiting season as well, when it comes to that. All right, so today I want to break down 6 essential things, and then I'm also going to break down my prediction for what I believe is going to happen in 2026 to just, overall as kind of a market whole, to be planning and prepping accordingly. Now, real quick, before I jump into these 6 things, look, if you are a real estate agent, you're a real estate team leader, you're a real estate brokerage owner, and you're thinking about a partnership, or you're interested in a partnership with me at EXP, where you get 100% full free access to all my coaching, all my training, all my support, all my mentorship, along with my business partner, Mike Sherrard, who is hands down the best that I've ever met in the industry at AI, social media, and YouTube. So you get 2 for 1. You get both of us as your coaches, your mentors, to help ensure that you crush your goals all 100% for free. So if you're interested in learning more about what a partnership would look like, there's going to be a link below. Wherever you watch or listen to this, if you scroll down to the description of the show notes, link below where you can schedule a 100% confidential, 100% zero pressure Zoom call with me personally. When I say zero pressure, look, I'm not going to try to recruit you. I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to pressure. I'm just going to walk you through, hey, here's everything that we have. Here's how we work. Here's how we operate. Here's all the systems, tools, support, all the additional wealth building opportunities, all the mentorship coaching support that we offer to help ensure that you crush your goals, answer any questions that you have. And if you think it's a fit for you, great. If not, that's okay too. Look, worst case scenario, 30 minutes to get to know each other better, to jump on a Zoom call. And if it's not for you, we can still be friends. You have my word on that. So that's something you want to take advantage of. There's a link below to go out there and do that. Okay, so now let's jump into these 6 crucial things to make sure that you have that right momentum going into 2026. We want to finish this year out strong and then have that right momentum so we crush 2026. All right, so the first thing is clarity. And if you watch and listen to my podcast for a long time, you hear me beat this to death because clarity is power. This is where it all begins, right? So we want to have extreme clarity on what you want, why it's important to you. My recommendation is to play the long game when you're going through your clarity exercises. So one thing that I always do is I always look at, okay, what's end game? Yeah, right. Like meaning, okay, like what's your exit strategy? At what age, at what point do you want to retire? How much, commissions do you need to be making, or how much money do you be making? What's going to be your residual income vehicle that you're going to have, whether that's stock market, whether that's real estate, whether that's building a business, organization, like whatever that is. I'm going to think about, okay, what that exit strategy is. Then I'm going to think of kind of what I call mid-year, mid goals, which is going to be my 5-year goal. So 5 years from today, where exactly do I want my business to be? How much money do I want to be making? How many hours do I want to be working? What's my perfect day look like? All of those things. So now I know my long-term goals with my business. I know kind of my, midterm goals, that 5-year goal. Then with my 12-month goal. So, okay, what must happen in 2026? So Christmas Eve, in the last day of 2026, man, I'm high-fiving myself, not Christmas Eve, New Year or whatever, last day of the year, right? December 31st, you're sitting there, you're reflecting on how your year went, like you're high-fiving yourself because you just crushed it, like you accomplished that. And my recommendation here is, to identify and get really clear on what is the single most important outcome that you must achieve in your real estate business, that if you achieve this, it solves all your other problems. So now you have a singular focus. Yeah, right. And some of you, that might be a GCI goal, closing unit goal that leads to a GCI goal, and then for others, if you like, I've had years where it's like, hey man, the money's pretty good. Like I'm happy with the money. I just need to figure out how to do this in 50 hours a week or 40 hours a week versus 80 hours a week because my lifestyle sucks, right? Like there's going to be different, that different outcome that each of you are going to have based on where you're at in your business. In the beginning, phase 1, it's like, we need money. But then when money's good, then it's like, okay, then time becomes an issue, right? So, there could be different things that you need, but like just getting very singular on what is the outcome that I need, that if I accomplish this outcome, all my other problems go away in my real estate business. And here is the thing is I want you to dig deep on this. I want you to really reflect on this and identify why this is a must for you. Because as the great Tony Robbins says, we don't achieve our wants. We don't achieve our nice to haves in life. We achieve our musts. So I want you to get to the point where you have such clarity on why this thing is a must for you, because the pain of not achieving the thing must outweigh the pain that we have to go through to achieve the thing. Otherwise we don't go through the work. We won't go through the pain. I mean, it's all pain. You're going to experience pain. You're going to go through the experience of the pain of discipline, the pain of putting in the work, and the pain of all the hard work that you got to do to go out there and be able to celebrate. Or you find yourself in a daily comfort which is easier in the moment, but then it creates a whole set of new pains, falling short of your goals, not reaching your potential, not being able to pay your bills, right? So you're going to experience pain either way, but I can tell you right now when the pain of not accomplishing your goal is more painful than the pain you're going to have to go through to make that goal happen, that's when the magic happens. So my recommendation, spend this next couple months getting yourself to that point of clarity. It's like when I have my agent partners coaching clients, spend the first 5 hours, right? 5 hours of, in-depth modules. Well, it ends up being about 3.5 hours of actual, videos modules I'm having them go through. But then by the time they do all the exercises, usually it's, minimum of 5 hours of work, right? To get to that point of clarity. So now that we have that extreme clarity, now we know, I look at clarity as like, that's the mountain that we're going to climb. Like, look, you don't want to put all this energy and time into climbing a mountain. Let's just say it takes, decades to climb this mountain to get to the top and realize, oh crap, I climbed the wrong damn mountain. No, we want to be certain that this is the right mountain I want to climb, right? Okay, now that we got that clarity, so you know where you're at, where you want to go, then from there, that allows us then to do phase 2, step 2, which is to come up with and get extremely clear on what your strategy plan is to get you from where you're at to your outcome that you want in 2026. So what is the strategy plan? And then from there, my recommendation with your strategy plan is to make sure that you have extreme precision within your strategy plan. You should know exactly what you have to do daily, weekly, monthly to hit your target. Hey, here's the activities I'm doing. Here's how many leads I need to generate every day, every week from those activities. Here's how many follow-up calls. Boom, like I've got my schedule built out. I've got every hour accounted for in that schedule to ensure that I'm hitting my target that I have, to go out there and make my, outcome a reality, right? So we want to have a strategy plan with precision, 2020, 2012 through 2022, easiest market that we've ever really experienced. Longest bull market in recorded history, longest real estate expansion recorded history. Like, look, you could have a pulse and sell real estate and make some money, so you could kind of wing it. And a lot of people got away with winging it during that time. That doesn't work anymore, right? Like you can't wing it. You got to treat your business as a business. And that all starts off with, again, having a strategy plan with extreme precision. So every single day, every single week, every hour, like what you need to be doing to make your goal reality. So you have 2 months, get this down. Now, my recommendation though is, don't wait, get 2 months to get this in place and then to start executing on this. Yeah, right. Like, let's just say you're like, okay, hey, I'm going to do these 3 lead sources. I got to be generating these amount of leads, and I got to be doing these amount of follow-up calls every single day. So those are kind of your core, key performance indicators that you're paying attention to. Then from there, my recommendation is before January 1st, so hopefully by like December, you're already generating those leads. You've already got the schedule in place. You're already doing that. So then you're sprinting into the year. You're not waiting to get to the first of the year and then to start. You're sprinting into the year. So whatever your lead flow is, whatever those activities are that you're doing, this now gives you a couple months to build up to those and to iron out all the kinks. So boom, when you're running into January 1st, it's like you're already hitting those numbers. It's not, oh, I got to now spend the whole month of January, maybe even the month of February building these up. No, you've already got them built up. Boom, you are running into this year. All right, so now that's number 2 is your strategy plan. Then I want you to now look at when you're assessing your strategy plan, right? And looking at this and just your overall business. This brings us into step number 3 is, okay, now identify what are the skill sets that you need to get dialed in, that you need to master over the next 12 months, or if you're able to dial in before 2026, even better. But what are the skill sets that you need to dial in that will allow you to operate as effectively and efficiently at executing on your strategy plan as much as possible? Look, and there's different skill sets that are needed. I mean, there's some common skill sets that we all need. Skill set of communication, skill set of presentation ability, negotiation skills. Yeah, right. But then from there, based on our strategy plans, there's different skill sets. Like if I'm cold calling, there's a different skill set. But then even within cold calling, okay, if I'm circle prospecting, that might be a different skill set than if I'm calling 30-day plus lates or pre-foreclosures, or if I'm going after probates, or if I'm going after absentee owners. Like with my absentee owner strategy, it's way different than, my FSBO or expired strategy, or, going after divorces. Like it's a completely different strategy, completely different skill set. Now there's some skill sets, tonality, things that we have to have in common, but we got to look at, okay, what is our strategy plan? What are the skill sets that I am lacking that will allow me to be a master at this thing? Right? That, you get to the point where like, I'm begging you to be on my podcast because you've truly honed in and mastered this thing. Like what does that look like? And this is where awareness is huge when it comes to our overall success. We got to have awareness. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What does this overall look like? We want to have that awareness so we can, plug that in and know where to get better. Because the quickest way to double your business is to work twice as hard, generate twice as many leads, is get twice as good at what we're already doing. And here's what people don't realize is, look, we're in an industry where small, tiny hinges swing big doors. So let's just say your dial to conversation rate, you're able to increase that by, 2-3%. Yeah, right. And that's not so much of this. Sometimes it's a skill set thing, but that's more. I shouldn't say it's a skill set thing. That's more of a system issue, right? Process system issue. But let's just say we're able to make some tweaks and get that up. I do it all the time with coaching clients where their dial to convo rate is, like 3.5%. We're able to get it to 10% very quickly, right? By just making some tweaks in their business. Then from there, let's just say your conversation to appointment set rate, we're able to increase that by 2%. Then your appointment set to conduction rate, we're able to increase that by 10%. Then your conduction and client taken rate, we're able to increase that by a few percent. Like you got a few percent here and there, all of a sudden then boom, your business is doubling, right? It makes a world of difference with these things. So once we have your skill set, there are skill sets that you need to dial in. Now you've created your self-development mastery plan for 2026. Right. So now we know what our game plan is, like what we got to execute on every year, execution plan. Now we've got our self-development plan in. What are those skills that we need to master? Look, do you need to get better at your buyer presentation, your listing presentation? Do you need to get better at your talk tracks, your tonality, leading the process? Like it's going to be different. Like only you. Yeah. Right. So we want to chunk that down and break that down. Okay. So now we got clarity on what we want. We've got our strategy plan with precision. We've got our skill sets dialed in, or we've got our skill sets identified that we need to get dialed in. Yeah, right. Then from there, the next two here are going to be processes and then systems. So this is 4 and 5. So our processes is just documentation of everything that we're doing on our strategy plan. Here's step one, here's step two, here's step three, here's step four, here's step five, here's step six. Yeah, right. So we've got it all documented, right? So it's all, anything that we do more than once in our business, we've got a documentation of it. Those are internal manuals or check, like that's the documentation, right? Then from there, the processes, then we take those processes, we have them live inside of a system. The system is the container that allows us to execute on the processes. So the way I always think about it is the system is the cookbook. Yeah, right. It is the container for all the recipes. Then I open up the cookbook, I dial into my recipes, right? That then is my processes. So it's like this right here. Like, okay, this is my playbook. At least if you're watching this on YouTube, this is my real estate playbook. So every single thing in my business, like this is my business cookbook. Everything in here is one of my my different recipes. So there's no guesswork, right? So I don't have to think about it. It's like, okay, if somebody no show, I got a potential buyer client, set up a buyer consultation, they no show me, boom, I just go into my system, click a button, it's going to queue off a 26-day, 12-touch follow-up protocol, so it's going to email them automatically 6 times, it's going to automatically task me to call them 6 times over the next 26 days to rebook them. I don't have to think about it. Boom, I just have the process that lives inside of a system that allows me to operate as effectively and efficiently as I possibly can. So not only a process, this is going to allow you to become more effective and efficient, to ensure you duplicate the same results over and over, to ensure that your clients get the same experience over and over. But if you want to continue to grow and scale, process and systems are the key, right? Because eventually you're going to need leverage. Like if you're getting to the point where you're doing 4 deals a month and now you want to scale to 8 deals a month, like you're going to need some help, right? And that could be admin help. That could be lots of different types of help, right? It's like anytime I'm working with an agent partner and they're looking at, starting to scale, I'll work with them. I'm building that out of what makes most sense based on what they're looking to achieve. But at some point we need help, right? But the help that we bring on, that leverage that we bring on, is only going to be as good as the systems and processes that we plug them into. Like nobody can show you their greatness unless they have great systems and process to plug into, right? Okay, so we got our clarity on what we want, we got our strategy plan, we got our skill set, then we got processes, systems, and then the last component is leverage, right? So now this might be for you, might not be for you. So if you're an individual agent, closing 12 deals a year, looking to go to 20, you may not need to leverage yet. Yeah, right. But what I want you to think about here is, okay, let's just say you're at, 40 deals and your goal is to get to 100 deals by the end of 2026. Okay, well, during that journey, you're going to need some help. You're going to need some leverage, most likely, right? There's some freaks out there that have a capacity that could do 100 deals a year with no help, right? They don't have much of a life, but it's, there's people out there doing that, right? But for me, I needed help. So I had to come up with, when I went from 48 deals, to then the next year to 103 deals, from my first year to my second year, like I knew I needed a leverage plan. Like meaning, okay, like what is the who, like it becomes a who problem, right? So sometimes in our business there's a what problem, there's a how problem, but then sometimes there's a who problem. Like I just broke it down and knew that, hey, there wasn't enough hours in a day, looked at everything that I had going on, all the breaking down all my plans. I'm like, look, dude, it's a mathematical impossibility, for me to go, to double my business and scale up to over 100 units without leverage. So I chunked that down and realized, okay, but then I created that leverage plan in my business of, okay, like what is the role, what is the responsibility, what are the details, at what point do I need to bring them on inside my business, so I had a strategy plan inside my business for leverage. So I want you to be thinking about that, right? So again, for most individual agents, around 1 deal a week is where it gets very difficult to keep everything together without things slipping through the cracks. But we're super busy. We're also making great money at that point. So if you want, again, go from 4 deals a month to 8 deals a month to 16 deals a month to 30, 60, however big you want to scale this thing, like eventually you need help. So you want to know, okay, what is when I say your leverage plan, what is your team growth plan? Right? Like, what does this look like? And it's going to be different. There's there's different situations, there's different reasons that we have different setups, within this. You might run an admin heavy plan, right? Or you might, again, depending on your situation, right? Like as an example, I have an agent partner of mine that's getting ready to move to Spain, but they're still going to be doing business in their market here in the US. from Spain. Yeah, right. Okay, well, that's going to be a little bit different than if somebody's, looking to build a traditional team, that's local here that can do some of those activities that this person can't. Yeah, right. So the model that, that leverage plan, that leverage model that I'm assisting with them to build out is different than, like, okay, how I built my team because I built a local team in my backyard while I was local living in that backyard. So I was able to have a different leverage plan for that, so different situations with that, but we want to have that plan in place too. All right. So then from there, I told you I was going to talk about, my prediction for 2026. I'm not going to get into, I've, just released a podcast, end up like a 40-minute podcast breaking down, real estate market and crash and, potential crash, all of that stuff, that we might see. So you can go check that out. What I'm saying here is very high level, right? So 2026, my prediction for 2026 is it's going to be another very low transaction volume year, right? Just like we've been experienced, very much the same as 2025 when it comes to low transaction volume. So you got about half the people that used to be able to partake in this real estate market, that no longer can or no longer willing to, with the market climate. Then from there, I predict interest rates holding about the same. And when I say I predict this, if you look at, Mortgage Bankers of Association, if you look at, Fannie, Freddie, HUD, like they all have the same, like interest rates through about 2028 are going to stay where they're at. It's not that interest rates are high. We don't have high interest rates right now. It's that life is so expensive. Real estate prices are so high. When you factor in the normal healthy interest rates, that then is just because, we've experienced so much insane inflation, like a combination of all of that just, adds to the unaffordability out there. So interest rates probably going to stay the same, right? Is my prediction with this. Then from there, my prediction is that, 2026 is going to be, the year where we start seeing mass layoffs. Right. So then from there, that's where we'll start to see big correct. Like we just need one little thing. You just got that one straw that breaks the camel's back. And the job market will definitely do it. Right. Like we're in most markets, you're already starting to, decline, at a decent rate. If you're in markets like mine or in Florida or parts of Texas, we're declining at a rapid rate, right? It's different based on the market. Speaking with somebody the other day, one of my coaching clients at his market. Now he's in a kind of unique market. It's a second home kind of ocean water market right ocean whatever, like it's a play, people go there to play, right? Well, his market is like, dude, the inventory is the lowest we've seen in decades. We're getting like 10 offers in every single property, but it's a very niche market. But for most of us, where you're in an area where people are living there, raising their kids there, buying homes, they're that's home base. you know um Most of the country right now is well into a buyer's market, or at least on the beginning phases of moving into a buyer's market. And then you got markets like mine and Florida and Texas and other markets where we're starting to get on the verge of crash territory. It's starting to feel a lot like 2007, early 2008 again. With that. But if you look, when I say big layoffs, I don't know if you heard this or not, but Amazon just announced 30,000 layoffs of white collar jobs replaced with AI. Microsoft just announced 15,000 layoffs, and these are like starting rounds. There's predictions out there that, okay, and by 2030, Amazon will have almost zero employees. They'll have laid off 600,000 plus employees because of AI, because of robotics. You got self-driving cars, you got all of these different things, that can just automate a ton of this stuff. And I'm not saying it's all due to AI. There's just a lot of cracks in the economy overall, that layoffs are something that's taking place and necessary. So you got 2026 is going to be another low transaction volume year, continuing to decline, in most markets, at least, 90% of the country. And we're going to see some big layoffs, or big acceleration increase in layoffs in 2026, which is going to, kind of fuel that fire of a deeper declining, market cycle, which I believe that we are in, the beginning phases of with that. So again, prep for that. And look, I could be wrong on all of this. I don't have a crystal ball. And there's also so much outside manipulation, so many things that can take place, but what I recommend is, I talk to agents all the time that are like, "Oh, dude, interest rates, are gonna come down. All these buyers are gonna come out of the woodwork in the next few months, and things are gonna be great again." I'm like, "Look, okay, like maybe, I don't know, yeah, right. Like I don't see that taking place. I don't see that happening, so I'm not gonna plan for it. If it happens, okay, fine. Yeah, right. But I'm going to plan on, okay, here's what we're seeing. I'm going to deal in realities and prep and plan accordingly. So if transaction volume is at, 40-year record lows, like we're seeing right now, okay, I'm going to prep and plan accordingly for that inside my real estate business. History favors he or she that's prepped and that's prepared, right? So I want to make sure I'm prepped. I want to make sure I'm prepared. I recommend that you do the same. All right, so that's what I got for you for today. And I want to make sure that you guys are focusing on the right things, that you are focusing on the right things to ensure that, because it's your choice. The market has nothing to do with your success. The interest rates have nothing to do with your success. Just how bad do you want it? How committed are you to it? Yeah, that's the only thing that matters, when it comes to this. And again, if you are interested in learning more about a partnership with me at EXP, where you get 100% full free access to all my coaching, all my support, all my mentorship, along with my business partner, Mike Sherrard's coaching, support, mentorship, there's a link below where we can jump on a 100% confidential, 100% zero pressure Zoom call. Well, I'm just going to walk you through. When I say zero pressure, not going to try to recruit you, not going to try to hard say none of that. Just, hey, here's what we got. Here's how we operate. Here's all the additional coaching, training, tools, resources that we provide. Here's some of the additional wealth building opportunities that are available here that don't exist really in the industry, or at least I haven't seen in my experience in the industry. Answer any questions that you have. If you feel this is an opportunity for you or a better fit for you, awesome. If not, that's okay too. We can still be friends. You have my word on that. Like I said, I'm not going to push you. It's not how I operate. So if it's something that you want to do, there's a link below for you to go out there and schedule that. Looking forward to hopefully talking with you on that call. Hopefully this was helpful. Keep crushing, keep kicking ass, and let's all make sure that 2026 is our best year ever. Peace.